Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the Supsoo B131. These are a pair of wireless Bluetooth active noise cancelling headphones, which are pretty stylish, although it also comes at a relatively premium price, selling for a little north of $200. So it puts it more into the territory of what you'd see from brands like Bose, for instance, although arguably still a touch less expensive, but definitely more than some of the generic wireless ANC headphones that you can also find online, often for half the price of this. So of course, the bigger question here is whether the quality can live up to something that is more premium in this price range. Now, it comes in a few different colors, including this black, as well as a rose gold edition. Claims to deliver over 80 hours of battery life, which is pretty compelling on a full charge. They can be folded down for easy transportation, and aside from active noise cancellation, they also will get you on-ear detection as well. So there's a sensor that will automatically play and pause the music as you're wearing them and when you take them off, as well as includes 40mm drivers on board. And there is also quick charging support. So 10 minutes will get you up to 5 hours of music playback. So they do have a audio transparency mode, again, similar like other TWS buds that we've seen, where it can magnify the sound around you so you can hear what's going on without necessarily removing the headphones for spatial awareness. But this company, again, is based in Shenzhen, China, so they are just putting a little bit more of attention into detail when it comes to the packaging, including this leather case, as well as a more synthetic memory foam design on the pads and a aluminum/soft touch rubber frame. But with that being said, again, I think the bigger question is still whether it's worthwhile, considering arguably it's not quite as reputable as aforementioned brands like Sony or Bose. I also do want to point out that there's definitely a lot of competition in this space. In fact, at this price point, it's even a little pricier than the Anker's Soundcore Q30, Q35 headphones, which are also very good. So only time will tell if these will also drop in price, and that could make them definitely more compelling, at least from a value perspective. Last but not least, you'll find just a quick user guide, Type-C cable for charging, and also a auxiliary 3.5mm cable if you want to use these as wired headphones. Now, one thing I do have to point out here is it is just using typical Bluetooth codecs, which is fine. So using Bluetooth 5.0, supporting SBC and AAC. But again, at the slightly higher price, I would kind of expect it to also include either Qualcomm's aptX or something like LDAC to make them high-res audio certified, but both of those are not present here. Closer look at the design, it definitely looks premium because of the kind of rounded corners and edges, all of these accents here which make it pop. At the very bottom here, we do have access to the 3.5mm auxiliary jack. There is a key that you can tap on to either mute or talk using the microphones when calling, a dedicated power key. On the other side, there is a volume rocker, and one feature I do really like here is you can turn on the ANC regardless of if you have the Bluetooth mode activated or not. So technically, this is a function that can operate independently of using these to play music, and you can just wear them to block out noise, for instance, and still have Bluetooth disabled. Although it is just one ANC intensity on here, and you're not able to further change the granularity of the ANC strength, there's also no companion app, at least at the moment. The cups here are very flexible, easy to swivel and fold down, either flat into the case or further fold inwards to make them even more compact. Otherwise, the headband and all of the padding here is extremely soft. In fact, I would say comfort might be one of its biggest strengths. It is indeed one of the most comfortable feeling pair of over-the-ear style headphones that I've worn over the past year or two, which is really saying a lot. They are applying very little pressure even if you're wearing glasses, and you can definitely wear these for a few hours. Extended duration doesn't feel uncomfortable, which is excellent. This part I would say is definitely on par with some of the more deluxe headphones on the market, and then the headband itself can also be precisely pulled up to adjust the sizing. Overall, the size is comparable with other over-ear style headphones on the market. So here is the aforementioned Soundcore Q35 as a reference point. Moving into audio quality and performance, starting with just the sound, overall I would say it's definitely solid. They do have a good punch of bass, so that 40mm driver on here is large enough to provide you with a kick when you're listening to drum beats and lower end frequencies. It does sound pretty satisfying without being too overpowering, and mids as well as instrumentals, vocals do sound good. Trebles are also largely clear enough, although that is one area where I have to also admit, if you're comparing these with audiophile standards, which it's a little hard not to, considering that these are more premiumly priced, I do want a little bit more clarity and detail in that higher frequency range. Overall, it sounds fine, but again, if you're primarily listening to acoustic tracks without much, let's say, mids or bass, it can sound a little bit more thin by contrast, but still perfectly sufficient. Overall, they are very immersive in the way that they are tuned, though, primarily, again, emphasizing, I think, mids and bass just a little bit more. So if you're wearing these for typical pop music, as well as watching movies and soundtracks with them, they do sound very good, I have to admit. So they are excellent overall, but definitely not, I would say, quite as good as some of the truly high-res audio certified, more accurate, let's say, neutral sounding headphones that are available, but good enough, again, for casual, everyday usage. Now, in terms of the profile of the sound, it also is pretty clean. If you strain your ears super hard, you can still hear a little bit of distortion in the background, but it's very faint. And overall, playing and pausing the music, the controls felt responsive, and things didn't have too much latency either, which is good. The active noise cancellation is excellent. I think just by nature of this design, it's going to already isolate more noise than on true wireless buds, for instance, which are just going to block out less as a result of their shape. So on these, even without turning that mode on, you're already isolating, let's say, if not 10 or 20% of the sound around you. But with it flicked on, it does the trick, and lower frequency sounds, whether it's engines, fan noises, are pretty much instantly repressed. If you're on an airplane, if you're in a subway or a car, these are going to be just a lot more comfortable when listening to music with. If we're being super nitpicky, I would say probably Bose's Quiet Comfort series are just a touch slightly stronger, but these are definitely getting quite close for a brand that is, I think, a relatively newer player. I'd rate these to be something around, let's say, 85 to 90% effective, which is already excellent, but compared to Bose, maybe they're just still 5 or 10% less in terms of the amount of noise that it can block. Still, it was very comfortable. They didn't apply too much pressure, even with the mode activated. It was still a very similar sound profile, which didn't change, and the audio transparency mode is also tuned to work quite well. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Supsoo B131. Right now, I think that if these were able to sell for around maybe $50 less, if not around the $100 range, that would definitely make them a much easier recommendation. But for what it is, these are definitely solid active noise canceling headphones, and for the most part, if you like the way they look, I would say at least the sound and the ANC definitely don't disappoint, but arguably there are other models to consider which you can save a bit of cash with and still get a similar level of performance. Although again, these don't have any glaring weakness, which in itself is impressive for a newer brand here. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. It's been the Supsoo B131.